Welcome back to MJ Homestead. One of the things that we wanted to do when we first moved out here was to start raising chickens and things. We want to get some out here by next spring. So we're gonna show you guys how we go about transforming our old wood shed here into a chicken coop. All right, this is where we're at right now. You see we got all our boards strung here. We even started putting our poultry netting on the outside. This is going to be our doorway to the thing. So it's actually turning out pretty decent. There's not a whole lot really to say about it, I guess. We did end up throwing some boards on the top here and just cutting an angle to match the roof line to tie this in so hawks can't get in and get our chickens. The chickens can't fly out or anything like that. This is how the outside of the coop's going to go. Then we'll just build our door. We hadn't been able to work on it here for a while because it's been raining every single weekend, and so it's been kind of a mess, but we'll do some more work on it today. Hopefully just about get her buttoned up. There's not a whole lot more to do. On the inside, you have to excuse the mess. Since it was raining out, we had to take all the junk we pulled out of there and basically put it back in. So we got junk all over the place in here, but we have our insulation bats hung up in the walls. We need to cut our door open for the chickens to walk in and out on our inside sheeting. We started on the wiring here a little bit ago. That'll get buttoned up today for sure. It'll be really simple. All we have is two light bulbs in here in a porcelain lamp holder, one switch, and then one outlet in case we wanted to plug something in for whatever reason, a heat lamp, or if we're doing some work out here or whatever, we'll have some power. That'll be over on the side of the door here. We had to come directly off the pole. So the pole's got a 100 amp breaker on it. Well, this whole entire shed would burn down before we drew 100 amps of power, so we had to fuse it pretty much. Bought this little breaker box. It's a 30 amp 2-pole breaker box, main lug or whatever, and we'll put a 20 amp breaker in there since we're using 12 gauge wire, so we'll have accurate fuse protection and things. So in case we do draw more than 20 amps, it'll just click this breaker and we'll be fine. On the outside, I'll show you what that looked like. All right, this is our main service for the whole farm here or whatever. We just came out of that with a 12 gauge UF wire. It's meant for like direct burial. It can be exposed to sunlight. It doesn't break the insulation down or anything like that. Came out with a piece of 1/2 inch schedule 80 PVC. Came out of the main, the offset down to the pole, came straight down to a factory 90, over to another factory 90, offset around this big chunk of concrete, and then up into an offset into our LB that punched into the building. That's mainly how you do it, I guess. But so it'll be buried and no one will trip over it or anything like that. And this PVC, when you're using it for conduit, if you use a heat gun and heat this up, you can pretty much bend it into a pretzel if you wanted to. It makes it really convenient, instead of having to buy 90s and 45s and figure out how to plumb all this stuff. You just heat it with a heat gun. You can just move it around to whatever configuration you want, make these fancy offsets and all that good stuff.
What are we going to do today?
Today we're going to probably finish sheeting the inside. I'm going to finish this wiring up real quick. That won't take anything. It'll be pretty simple. And hopefully get most of the rest of our netting stapled on the outside of the outside of the chicken coop before the wind picks up. We're supposed to have like 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts. It's awesome living in South Dakota. It's nothing but that crap all the time, but try to get as much of that stuff done before the wind comes up and hopefully get that, be at that point today. All right, this is how the electrical panned out. We got our porcelain lamp holders mounted up to our boxes and things, some light bulbs in them. It's pretty simple installation. Whatever it took, maybe an hour, I suppose, to string the wires and all that kind of stuff. For a little breaker box, gonna turn power on and off for us. This is the line coming in from the outside. I think we already explained all that kind of stuff, but just kind of looped it through our switch box, hooked up our outlet, powered up our switch, took a switch leg out of that, up into this first box, and then just paralleled that in, and then wired in our second box. That's all there is to it, really. But that's what it looks like when it's all done, I guess. That's about it. All right, you guys. This is what the inside of the chicken coop ended up turning out like. We use this 1/4 inch. I think they call it oriented strand board. I think is what they call it. But we have R11 behind it in the stud cavities or whatever. That should be warm enough for the chickens. They don't really need a whole lot. They just need to get out of the wind, and someplace it'll be warm for them. So I think this will suffice for them. But yeah, we cut out a little door there for them to walk in and out. And frame that out quick, when we had it all open. And but that's about it. I mean, I think it turned out relatively decent. I think the lighting should be adequate. If it's not, we use two 60-watt equivalent LED bulbs. We could jump up to 100-watt equivalent LED bulb too, if we needed more light or something like that. But it's a pretty small area, and it's pretty, color's pretty light, so we shouldn't need a whole lot of light in here anyway. That should probably suffice. And but yeah, that's about it for now. We're going to go work on the outside part now and try to get the rest of our upholstery netting maybe stapled up today yet. All right, this is the door that we ended up engineering ourselves here. It's just basically, since we were using 4x4s for our frame, we laid the 2x4s flat, like the long way. I'll show you what I mean, like the long way. And then put cross braces in diagonally in order to strengthen the door. And just hung them off of some pretty heavy-duty hinges that we bought from, Menards or whatever. The weird thing about this that I didn't even think of, I took like algebra class in high school. I didn't do a whole lot of geometry. So what I thought was, I'm going to cut 45s in here, because this is a 90-degree angle right here. So 2 45s equals 90 degrees, right? And that'll work out great. No, it doesn't. Because if you were working with a perfect square, yeah, that would work out perfectly. You go from corner to corner and be 2 45-degree angles, but this ends up being like 122-degree angle and like 168-degree angle, pretty much, or whatever, however that turns out. So that they're a little bit awkward in the corners to cut them, but it worked out pretty good. We have like equal spacing all the way around. Our posts must have held their plumb, when we set them or whatever, because the gaps are pretty even and all that kind of stuff. And we just covered it with the upholstery netting that we use in the rest of the enclosure, so it worked out good. We just have two like eyelet latch connectors to close the door, and then we found some this I think it's like door jam. Like we put inside of a door jam when you're at an interior door. When your door closes, it bumps up against this. I think that's what that stuff is. We just put it there to cover the edge of the upholstery netting, so we didn't like poke ourselves when we go to unlatch our latches and stuff like that. We just covered it with that just to finish it off a little bit, pretty much. And then we wanted to be able to open and close our door for the chickens to go inside and outside from the outside of our shed here. So we ran a rope up. This is kind of a something we engineered ourselves here or whatever, but you have like a 3/4 inch piece of plywood that's the same size as our opening, and we shimmed it out with more of that door jam stuff, 1x4. So that'd be like 3/4 inch thick, the same thickness of the board, but we wanted to give it a little bit of extra space to move around, because it'll jam immediately if the tolerances are too tight. It would jam right away. And then there's a trim piece to hold the door from kicking out when you pull it up, but that'll be how that works. And we just ran it up to an eyelet for now. We might actually buy a real pulley and hang a pulley up here and a pulley over there. It probably would work better. And this rope that we use too is It's like clothesline rope. It's a cotton rope, like a cotton-based rope, and the fibers are so weak they stretch really bad. And the door's a little bit heavy, so we'll probably have to find something better for that. Either some, like a aircraft cable or airline cable, whatever we call it. Like dog leashes are made out of like steel wound cable that are sheathed in like plastic or something like that. And that would probably work pretty well. Or a nylon-based rope, something like that wouldn't stretch as much. So we're gonna have to replace that. But that's kind of how that whole thing's gonna work. And we'll show you the outside of the coop too. We'll back off a little bit and show you the entire thing. It turned out actually a lot better than what I even thought it would. So, but yeah, it's pretty decent. I mean, I think that'll definitely work for what we want to do with it and things like that. So. Alright guys, this is the inside of the chicken coop here. We did insulate the walls with an R11 kind of an insulation or whatever. They're like craft-based fiberglass batting that we put in the walls. With insulation, a lot of people think that if you can cram more insulation in the wall, that's good. We only had like 2x3s that were framing this thing up in the first place. And with insulation too, if I were to try to put like an R20 or something like that in the walls, you smash the air pockets together that are in the insulation. I mean, the fiberglass doesn't provide you the insulation. The air pockets in between the fiberglass fibers do. So there's no reason to put more insulation than what your walls can actually take. So R11 is about as much as we're going to get in here with a 2x3. You can see how thick a 2x3 is. It's 2.5 inches thick, pretty much, is all that is. So we put the appropriate, insulation for what we had, and then sheeted it with this OSB board, oriented to strand board, or whatever, just to finish it off, and basically just hold the insulation in the walls. Is all that's pretty much for. So, but then we did like run electricity in here too. It's going to run 2 light bulbs that are on porcelain lamp holders. They're just like a plastic round box that gets nailed onto these two like rafters here or whatever. And we did protect the whole thing with a 20 amp breaker box here, a square D breaker box. This is the incoming from the pole. This is going back over to our box, then up to a switch leg back up into our lights. That's all that is. Then we did build a roosting area for the chickens too. At night they come inside and they roost to sleep and things like that. And all we did there is just hang a 2x4 from the wall from 2 of the studs that we knew were there, and then cut some of these 2x3s that we had laying around inside of our shed. And at 4 feet we bought like 3 8-foot 2x2s, then cut them in half at 4 feet apiece. And then just spaced them out evenly. I think they're 13 inches on center, so that the whole thing, lays out nice and stuff like that. But we had an extra one. We have 5 roost perches for them to sit on. We haven't built our nesting boxes yet, and we'll do that, probably next spring or something like that. But for now, I mean, it works out pretty good. This is the inside of our fancy sliding guillotine door that we built for the chickens to go in and out. That's what that'll look like. But for that chickens or whatever, it should be pretty comfortable for them in here, even in the winter time with the insulation. And if we have to put a heat lamp in here, we can, because we have electricity out here now and things like that. So it'll work out pretty good, I think. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And you can even hit that little bell button if you want to, so you can get a notification when we make a new video. Thank you. Have a good night. Welcome back to MJ Home. Let's rock that one too. Welcome back to MJ Homestead. We're going to start working on our chicken coop today. I wanted to show you guys what, kind of how we're going to go about doing it and things like that. We have a plan to set some posts out here.